I got to play Mongil Stardive before its official launch, and honestly, this game ended up surprising me in ways I really wasn't expecting. You already know how much I love game lore on this channel, and this game is no exception. I went in expecting a fun monster collecting action RPG, but what really stood out to me was just how much personality this game has. The story is genuinely good, the world is charming, and the characters feel so alive that I kept wanting to see more of them. I enjoyed it so much, I ended up playing it for longer than the sponsor probably intended. So before we get into it, thank you so much Mongil Stardive for sponsoring today's video. If you haven't heard of it yet, Mongil Stardive is a monster taming action RPG, and it's available on mobile and PC through Google Play, the App Store, Epic Games, and the PC launcher. And if this already sounds like your kind of game, definitely go pre-register using the link in the description and pin comment down below, because the game officially releases on April 15th, 2026. If you're looking for a new game to jump into right at launch, this is a really good time to keep your eye on it. Mongil Stardive follows Cloud and Verna as they set out on an adventure through the fantasy region of Hananis, and their journey really kicks off when Cloud encounters a mysterious creature named Nyanners, whose power lets the group capture and tame monsters. Fun fact, you're able to name Nyanners, and I named it after my cat, Forrest. On the gameplay side, it's a monster taming action RPG where you fight in fast-paced 3-character tag battles, swapping between party members in real time, chaining skills together, and weakening monsters enough to catch them. Those captured monsters then feed back into progression through the Monster Codeex and the Monster Link system, where monsters can be equipped to give your character extra stats, buffs, and effects. So the whole gameplay loop really becomes about exploring, battling, collecting, and building a team that feels uniquely your own. What I think makes Mongil Stardive stand out right away is that it doesn't just rely on looking pretty, even though it does look really good. It has a really bright, colorful fantasy feel, but underneath that, it also has a lot of heart. Since I'm a lore channel, story is one of the first things I pay attention to in any game, and that was one of the biggest reasons this one clicked with me. The story is genuinely engaging, but what stood out to me even more than that was how vibrant the characters are. I've played a lot of gacha games, and one thing that can happen sometimes is that even when the world is interesting, the actual cast can feel a little stiff. Sometimes the main characters feel like devices to move you from one quest to the next instead of real people with their own presence, their own humor, and their own way of reacting to the world. This was the first game in a long time where I genuinely didn't get that feeling. In Mongil Stardive, the characters don't feel NPC-ish at all. They're expressive, memorable, and they actually add to the world they're living in. The dialogue is hilarious. Even the two main characters, Cloud and Verna, have their own really distinct personalities, and that was one of the first things I noticed from the game's opening. Their dynamic is genuinely funny, and the way they interact with each other and the world around them makes them feel like actual characters instead of just blank protagonists. Cloud has this goofy, chaotic energy, and Verna balances that out with her own strong personality in a way that makes their back and forth super fun to watch. They're not here to just spoon-feed information to you. They react, joke around, riff off each other, and make the story feel alive. I actually really started to care about them because they're really not your typical self-inserts. And it's not just them either. The NPCs and the playable characters feel just as vibrant. That was honestly one of the biggest surprises for me. I wasn't expecting the dialogue to stand out as much as it did. I found myself genuinely enjoying conversations instead of treating them like something to click through as fast as possible. That might be rare for a lot of people because dialogue is one of those things that instantly determines whether you might be invested in a world or not. If the writing feels flat, it's hard for people to care no matter how pretty the game is. But here the dialogue had enough charm and personality that it became one of the biggest things that stood out to me while I was playing. You can tell the writers put a lot of thought into how to keep players entertained with the story. So if you're someone like me who really values story, character writing, and a cast that actually feels alive, I really think that's one of the strongest parts of this game. Now, of course, if you play gacha games, one of the things you probably care about is the summoning system. And yes, Mongil Stardive does have character summoning. So if you enjoy building out your roster, collecting characters you like, and putting together your ideal team, that's definitely part of the experience here. And I like that it doesn't feel like summoning is the only thing the game has going for it. Because the other major side of the game is the monsters, and I think that's one of the coolest parts of Mongil Stardive. Collecting them is a huge part of the game, and that collecting aspect feels really rewarding. The variety of collectible monsters is one of the first things that pulled me in. There's something really fun about seeing all these different monster designs and knowing that they're actually part of your journey and not just random creatures you pass by and forget. That's where the Monster Codex comes in, and I love systems like this. The Monster Codex makes collecting feel even more satisfying because it gives you that sense of discovery. It makes you want to go out, find more monsters, fill things out, and really engage with the world. It adds that extra layer of spice and motivation, where you're not just progressing the story, you're also building out your collection and learning more about what's out there. If you're the type of player who loves collecting and completion, I think the Monster Codex is going to be a really fun part of your experience. And then there's the Monsterling system, which I think is one of the most memorable mechanics in the game. Monsterlings are monsters that you can equip to your characters for different stat boosts and effect boosts, and I really like how much this adds to team building. It means your monster collection isn't separate from your combat decisions. They actually work together. So when you're thinking about which characters you want to use, you're also thinking about which monsterlings you want to equip to them and what kind of bonuses they're giving you. I always love systems like that because it makes collecting feel meaningful. It's not just about having something because it looks cool, even though a lot of the monsters do look really cute or really fun. It's also about how you can use them to support your builds and how they fit into the way you want to play. That makes monsterlings feel like they're not just a side gimmick. And when you put all of that together, the story, the exploration, the character summoning, the monster collecting, the monster codex, and the monsterlings, it creates a gameplay loop that feels a lot more interesting than just logging in, pulling a character, and moving on. There's a real sense of building your team, building your collection, and making your way through this world with both your characters and your monsters playing an important role. I think that's a big reason why the game left such a strong impression on me. But if I had to narrow it down to a single biggest reason this game stood out to me, it really would come back to the personalities. That's the thing I kept noticing over and over again. The story was good, the systems were fun, and the collection aspect was satisfying, but the reason I kept feeling so positively about it was because the cast just felt alive. Cloud and Verna especially are such a big part of that. They really feel like main characters with their own hilarious personalities, and that made me enjoy the experience so much more. I think that's also why this game felt refreshing to me compared to a lot of other gacha games I've played. Usually when I talk about a game in this genre, I end up focusing on the mechanics first because that's often the part that stands out most immediately. But here, one of the first things I wanted to talk about was the writing and the dialogue, because that was genuinely one of the best surprises. I didn't expect to enjoy the conversations as much as I did. I didn't expect the cast to feel this lively. And I definitely didn't expect to come away thinking, wow, I actually really like spending time with these characters. So if you're interested in a game that has a fun summoning system, a huge variety of collectible monsters, and a great cast of characters, I think Mongil Stardive is worth checking out. So again, huge thanks to the sponsor, Mongil Stardive, for letting me try the game before launch. If you want to check it out for yourself, make sure to pre-register now using the link in the description and pinned comment down below. And keep in mind that Mongil Stardive officially releases on April 15th, 2026. If you love game lore, lively characters, monster collecting, and building out your team in a way that feels creative and satisfying, this is definitely a game you should be looking forward to.